I mean, that's really always my first question. How is everybody?
Oh,
Great.
Great.
We're all great.
How are you feeling about life, about music? Is there excitement? Is there nervousness? Is there wonder?
Everything.
All the above. Always.
All
Yeah,
the
I think we're all
All the above.
It's just a tornado of
Excited.
emotions every day. That's
There was a lot of nervous laughter a little bit when I said,
Yeah.
like, we're having, I find that releasing music is the most terrifying thing, especially as a new artist, because first of all, the market is, everybody's an artist, especially post-pandemic. It's like
Yes.
everybody got Logic in 2020
Yeah.
and has launched. And it's so nervous because it kind of, I don't know if you relate, but doesn't it feel like you're entering a really happy failure sometimes? Or
Yes.
it's just me being negative.
Yeah.
It's I like thinking of it as, I mean, I'm in my early 20s and don't have kids, but I think of it every time you release a song as sending your kid off to college. You know, it's like for a while that kid's been yours and you're just like holding on to it so dearly, trying to raise it right. And then you send it off.
The rest of the world gets a
the
piece
kid's
of it.
not, you know, and now the rest of the world, now the kid's off in the world and you kind of just
What is mine
gotta
is
check
now
in.
everyone's.
And now
Yeah.
we're just cheerleaders for our kid.
Yeah, no, I that comparison is always given, but I like to add to it. You send the kid off and then he starts getting poor grades. And you're like, you were doing so well in high school. How could this be happening?
Well, that's why we have our favorite kids and our least favorite kids. You know, some kids,
I don't
some
think
kids are
that's
doing better than others, and some of them, you know, they're not living up to what the parents raised them to do. You know.
But it's funny you say that because I spoke to one artist and he was talking about how every song that he hated personally worked for everyone. They became his hit.
Usually how it goes.
And he has like a vendetta against them because that are so demanded. And he's like, I want you to like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, we have a few of those. I feel like we're like, damn, like these songs were kind of slept on in a way, but maybe that just means that they're gonna do better down the line, like at a different point in our career. Maybe those people will circle back on them and listen to them then. But we love most of our kids the same. I mean.
we love all our kids. Come on, we love all of them
For different reasons.
You're not wrong. Yeah,
For
exactly.
different
They all have their ups and downs.
yeah. But I would say that there's always, maybe it's the process of making a song that you always think your newest song is the best thing yet.
Oh, 100%, 100%. It's always like that. It's like, because new always trumps good at the very beginning. Like even when we're doing like any demos or we make something on our own, just like, you know, one night in our rooms, it always is exciting for the first like 4 hours, and then you sleep on it, wake up, and then it's not.
Yeah, you wake up and you're like, how did I ever think this was good?
And then you're critical about it. So yeah, no, it's funny how the newest and the most recent thing always has that like little charm and excitement to it. But I think that's what just keeps it going. You know, that's kind of what gets you to the finish line.
Yeah. I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with that criticism because I think that it is just sabotage veiled as intelligence. You know, like it kind of feels like you're just sabotaging yourself, but you're acting like you're being smart.
Yeah. It's all a facade. Being an artist is a facade.
And nothing is real.
Yeah, it's all what is it, that Neville guy who's like everything is energy, you could just build your own reality. There's a guy who's like banging on TikTok that they keep on repeating with that notion that everything is just if you realize everything is energy and you could really build your own reality. I don't know if that's working for everybody because I think we have different realities.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
No, that's beautiful. That's a beautiful way of looking at it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all the whole idea is that you have the power to make your life, but most people don't realize they have that power.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And I think as artists, we're just naive enough to believe that we have that power.
Couldn't have said it better.
And then criticize ourselves to death.
And then analyze every decision we made based off of not like being naive. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I went over to my friends and he did this fabulous song and then he edited it and it sounded like a different song. I was like, this thing sucks. Like this new goodness, what happened? You killed it. And he was like, what? Oh no, oh man. And then you forget the original sound. Is there kind of this kind of secret code of checking each other to not get overly critical and kill the song?
I think that's what a good thing about having the four of us is that we can rely on each other to like be like, nah, that's too much, or like, you know, like, yeah, I could use that. But we have four brains that we're able to pick at and like choose what we like. And usually, like, if someone has an idea for something, like someone has another idea and someone might have another idea. So we're allowed, we can be like, yeah, like, that one works. Sorry, man, that one doesn't work.
Being a band is almost like a cheat code because you got four artists representing one artist, right? So like, we always understand like the blessing of being in a group. And that's one of the big things is that like when someone has the eagerness and the drive to change something, like something within them feels like something needs to change. All of us support that decision, but we also have to tread responsibly, right? Because we don't want someone ending up hating something that was great because they didn't think it was where it needs to. It could do better. It could be better, right? So having people to always put the brakes on us when needed is like the biggest blessing, because when you start working on your own and you're doing things on your own, you're only bouncing ideas off of yourself, right? And then it's this massive feedback loop, right? And it will just never end unless someone comes in and just cuts it off, right? So having a band, that's probably one of the best things about it, is that there's always someone to catch the feedback loop and say, hey, stop, enough is enough. You're good. Like everything's okay. Chill out.
Yeah.
I listened to a podcast the other day and it was an interview with John Legend. And he was talking about how he would always show like Chrissy Teigen his demos and how she would have that same result at the end where she would finally hear the finished product and be like, I like the demo more. So he's like, I just stopped showing her the demo. And I think we used to send like demos to all our friends and then they'd hear the final song.
We'd get that too. I would get that.
I kind of like this version more. So we're just like, okay, fuck, we're not sending these demos.
Sorry, that's not the version anymore. So too bad for you.
Yeah, whatever.
But I don't know. I feel like, well, you know, talking about friends, I think that I don't know how to feel about friends listening to music because there's this concept that your friends, they're going to automatically love it. And no, they are the biggest bullies of your own music. Yeah. Like they will tear you apart.
I sent one of our newer songs to like a buddy recently and I was like, oh, like I just want to get some dope feedback. Like hopefully he loves it. He got back to me. He's like, this doesn't feel like a new friend song. Like this just like the vocal this and the lyrics are here and the melodies are here. I'm like, dude, like, damn, okay.
Last time I sent you this.
Yeah. I think it's like there's definitely a balance because most, at least from our perspective, like we as much as we love having industry noise, like industry people to back it, to like give us back and forth feedback, there's something to be said though about the person that doesn't know how it's made, about the person who just sees the painting and not like, oh, what colors did you use, what color code is that, I'm more of a blue 00296 kind of person, but we'll let it slide, you know, like it's nice to have just a consumer perspective on it, because oftentimes you kind of get lost in your own head, like as an artist, because you're so, you know, amped up about it and you know all the possibilities ahead of it, right? Like, you know that you could do this and you know how to do it. But when you share it with someone who doesn't know how it's created, you kind of don't have that. And you just have face value of what the song is. So I think it is like a healthy balance. But like you said, with friends, you got people who go, I am now an A&R at a label and I'm going to give it to you so straight.
Yeah, they suddenly, like, they don't know anything about music there, but they're like, it needs a catchier hook. Or there's always that one song that they're like, you know the song, that song is you. You need to
Yeah,
start doing more songs like that song. And they don't even know the title of it. They just know there is a song that is you. Yeah.
Yep.
But you do need to rely on them because, like you said, they have the consumer ear, which is the most basic lush thing in the world. And I do wonder, when you're creating, how much do you have to think about the consumer ear?
I think it's just a responsibility thing. I think it's just, making sure everything is done responsibly, because for us, if we go too far one way, right, and we go a bit too far into, our artistic endeavors, right?
Yeah.
There becomes a threshold where the song can lose all of its importance and meaning if you made it too complicated to understand. And I think that's kind of the furthest we'll go, is we'll make it for us first, because we want it to sound honest and authentic coming from our voices in the way that we want it to sound.
Yeah.
But by no means are we gonna ever isolate anyone or make anyone feel like this is beyond me or this is too much for me, because I feel like at the same time, like, then we didn't do our job conveying what we were trying to say. If we made it too difficult for you to understand, it almost goes backwards for us, because then we feel bad that, like, oh, but this song does so much, trust us. It's like, I had to give it 10 listens and then I was like, okay, I like it. We want you to be able to first listen, be like, oh, I think I'm feeling this way about it. Go back and be like, oh, but now I'm feeling this way about it, rather than having it as, I'm confused, let me listen a bunch of times to try and understand.
Yeah, I think the good news for us is we're a pop band, so most of our music is pretty easily consumable, I would say. Anyways, like, even if, like, it may not be the deepest song or whatever to someone, it's still pretty easy to listen to. I think at the end of the day, like, it's not hard to consume our music. Like, we make pop music, and I think that's something we all like, is like, we like catchy hooks, we like writing about things that people can relate to. So
yeah,
I couldn't have said it better. That's exactly it. That's where the pop, like an alt pop, that's where we hold dearly the pop side, is listening to such a complex idea, such a complex, like, vision be put into words that everyone understands and into melodies and songs that everyone gets stuck in their head. Like, that's kind of the art behind pop. Like, I feel like pop gets a bad rap these days because people think of it as, like, dry or, like, basic. Whereas I think there's almost a skill that people are kind of, not giving enough credit to, which is making something that seems so confusing in your head understandable for a bunch of people. Like, that's an art in of itself, right?
Yeah. I mean, but I think every major genre gets bashed. Hip hop, pop, reggaeton. Like, if you are a global genre, you're gonna get bashed, because now you have everybody's listening to you and everybody has an opinion. And there's something, it's interesting. You use the word responsibility. And I think that, especially nowadays, because the world, everybody's opinion out there is out there, responsibility, the question is, what is the responsibility of the artists? Are they responsible in educating people, in elevating people, or entertaining people? And for pop, I think it's always been like the most popular genre to just stick to entertaining. Like, I don't need to educate. And if I elevate, that's great, but, like, just have fun.
And that's where the alternative side of us comes in, because we have this knack now to be honest when we start making songs. Like, I think before we were very scared of whether people are going to like our opinions, which I think is pretty common from meeting other artists. It's a pretty common way to start out, is that you're almost scared that your voice doesn't, because you don't have the audience, your voice doesn't matter as much.
Doesn't matter.
So you're gonna kind of play it safe. But I think the one thing that we realize, especially now with, like, Waste My Time and the new record that we're putting together, is people are starting to really, really crave honesty and, like, authenticity these days, because it's so oversaturated with so many artists, so many things happening, that now we kind of like playing that balance with alternative ideas being put into a pop situation. And that's why, if you listen to, like, Waste My Time, which I think we can all agree is, like, a very pop based song. The lyrics, though, there's so many things that someone can take out of it. And that's kind of the beauty behind like the alternative pop and why we fell in love with that genre to begin with, is that we have room to move out, but we also have a responsibility, like I said, to not move out too far.
Well, I mean, I feel like so many artists, especially in these interviews, they always talk about honesty, but I don't know what is truth to you. For me, I think as somebody who does music, I think that everything is true. If you feel it, it's your truth. You can, even somebody who's being fake is really choosing to be fake. So I think
there's truth to that.
Yeah, there's truth in their fakeness.
Yeah.
So I feel like truth is this like ambiguous word, and it's anchored by the catchiness. Because even now, like all these songs that you're putting out right now, one day it's not going to be your truth. It's going to be the past. So for me, I think the creative process is really about making your present truth catchy, not honest, because it's already honest. You chose it. Right.
I love that. Yeah.
That for me is the hard part. That's my logic, because it's always going to be honest. It's coming from you.
Right. And I think it's just how honest you want to be, right? It's like how many cards do you want to show? And sometimes it's
very difficult to always like to be 100% honest, I think, all the time.
Yeah.
There's some things like I think like we're getting better at it for sure, but I definitely think there were times in our first project where we just played it safe because we didn't feel comfortable sharing that with the world yet. Like, you know, but sometimes like, yeah, like you said, honesty just floors out of you, like whether you like it or not, that's your truth.
Yeah,
so put it down on paper and get it out in the world. Like usually those are the songs that really hit anyways, because they're just, you know, they're more relatable, and that is the catchy part, like you said.
Yeah, and I feel like at the start too, because it's more of a local audience, you're scared that like, oh, if I explain this, my friends are going to hear this. But then you just become more confident and realize like you don't really give a shit anymore, and like it's bigger than your friends hearing it and your family hearing it. So that's kind of how I felt.
That's such a good point, because it's weird. I think fans don't truly I mean, some do, but I think fans truly understand like the impact that they have on their artist. Like aside from the artist playing to bigger rooms, or you know how many record sales, like that stuff's all boring, right? It's just like because of our fan base growing, and because all these great people are coming along for our journey, they've actually done so much for us just from being there without even saying anything, because now they're putting us in a position where we want to up ourselves, not just for ourselves anymore. We feel like there's a responsibility for us to not be scared. You know, people need us to not be scared. It's like we can't have those moments where we doubt ourselves. Like how do we be confident? How do we grow as people? And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about growing a band, is that your fans and the people who come along start actually really affecting the way that you perceive yourself, the way you perceive your music, your art. And that's kind of been the most exciting thing, I think, for us recently, is now we get to play shows because the pandemic loosened up. So we get to see people face to face, and just meeting those people, like that's what gets us back in the studio going, game time, guys, like game time. Like there's no, whatever self-doubt you had, let's talk about it. Let's get this, let's push past this, because we have a job now, a responsibility now to try and be the best that we can be. And I think that's, yeah, like Cole said, that's one of the most precious parts.
Yeah. Well, it's funny, like he mentioned the locality problem. And I think that part of what clips the honesty of at least your initial stages of being an artist is that you're becoming aware that people are watching and listening, and your first listeners are your family and friends.
Yep.
And it's almost like you exhaust yourself from clipping your wings a little bit. Like I'm not going to write a sad song, because if I write it too sad, my mom's going to text me, "Are you depressed?"
Yeah. We still get those texts though. We still
Why are you so sad? Was I not a good mom? So there comes a point where it's like, I'm never going to be successful if I'm worried my mom thinks I'm depressed. So I'm kind of,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we got over that with one song, and it was really important for us to have that song. It was called That's What's Up. And I think that was like, we had some people ask like, wow, that was a very like big shift right after the pilot. But that song was so important to us because we went, okay, let's just dive in deep. Like, let's just go into the deep waters. What's the one thing that we're always scared to talk about? And it's just like, yo, before bed, yeah, I smoke weed. Like, why am I scared about it? It's like, okay, let's dive in our first like try at
the song to like kind of take us out of what we've been, like this was like, let's just have a fun but honest song and see what people think of it.
Yeah. I think for us it was like it was just a thing to just be like, it's okay to write about these like things that people normally don't write about, or that like sometimes it's frowned upon.
Yeah, it was exciting, and that kind of catapulted us honestly into being more honest and less, well, not being more honest, but being more.
I think honest, like
yeah,
honest
I guess
too.
honest
like
as
we
well.
like I think we've kind of overcome that whole like, oh God, like we can't say this because it's like bad. Like we're kind of at a point where like if we want to say it, like obviously we're not gonna like go absurd and say some crazy thing in our song. But like whatever is honest to us, like I think we're at a point now where we could just say it, and it's like, all right, like we think it's the truth, so let's say it.
Yeah.
I feel like the journey you're talking about too is it's not as much honesty as clarity.
100%.
There comes a point, like I said, I think that you're always honest, but there is a point where it's kind of like clearing the mud and not using like 20 different ways to say you're happy. Getting to the nuance of joy and not just being like, I'm happy, I'm very happy, I'm joyful, I'm so joy. The danger of like repetitiveness can trick you into believing that you're being deep.
Right.
Couldn't have said it better.
I think with songwriting, it's like, you kind of like, you'll write a lot of bad songs. You'll spend a lot of days in a session where you're fighting for this song that's probably not going to see the light of day. You're thinking so much about the lyrics, but those kind of days actually end up preparing you for your best. Like the days that you're just, you walk in and you come out with a home run because you just go in and everything kind of floors out of you. Some days you got to really think to fight for a song, and some days that honesty just like arrives and it's like, here it is, and here's it summed up in a 2-minute song. And it's kind of this beautiful thing because like if every song was easy to write, I think it would be boring. It'd be just boring. It would make those songs that are really special less special. So I think that's kind of the way it's been for us. Is we've had a lot of days in the past month where we've gone to sessions and kind of came out like, like there's a song, but it wasn't really, it's not great, but we still spent the day collectively trying to get something. And I think that will always set you up for success in the end, because, one day
you're fighting for honesty. It's a battle. It's like you're not, I think that's one thing. And like going off of what you just said is when you're going to make a song and you're trying to search for that truth, you can't, like it's in you, like it's always there. And like when you said it's kind of the clarity thing, it's like it's always been in you. I think clarity is like the best way to describe it, is that I don't think something just clicks and changes, right? I think that's just always been there. It's just it kind of came to the surface and now it found you when it needed to find you. Like, oh, I don't like this anymore. That you always didn't like it, but now you have clarity to realize, oh, I actually don't like this. I think it's always been within you. And that's where people kind of get lost and confused. And like Aiden said, you have to actually actively keep trying. And especially as a creative where your brain is everywhere, you have to always try and search for that clarity, because when it comes, you can't be overwhelmed. You can't be a deer in the headlights, intimidated, honestly, of what you're thinking and like what's happening, what you're spewing out to the world. You have to prepare yourself, because if you're not locked in and you don't have any practice of controlling those thoughts and that creativity, you're not going to be
Run
able to
away.
capture those moments. You're going to run away 100%. So that's why
crazy
it's like,
because
that's the training. Yeah.
the first 4 songs of our new record, they all happened in one weekend, like
Yeah.
1 week, and it's just like
No,
I
one
remember
weekend. It's 3 days.
3 days, and it's like the months leading up to that was, what's the next phase of our band? What do we have in the tank? We got fucking nothing. Like, we have all these like kind of nothing ideas, and 1 week arrives. We work with some amazing collaborators, and bam, there's 4 really songs that we were just like, holy crap, like this is shaping the next era of our band. And I just think, yeah, it's a lot of days where you don't know, or
What's next?
you don't know what's next, and then all of a sudden, oh yeah, the work we put in here it's gonna get us to those days where we have that song just kind of comes out of nowhere. And sometimes you get 4 of them.
I love those days. I feel like when
Yeah.
it's easy, it's like
Oh, great.
like the universe just like bowed to you and was like, shut up, I'm gonna give
Like, I think the longer you
give you the
make
track.
songs too, the longer you do this, like you just know when a song is it. Like, you just know. Like,
Yeah.
it may not be the biggest song in the world, but I think you know when you got a big fish versus a little fish. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we kind of accidentally turned this interview into a masterclass of songwriting.
Yeah. It's kind of fun, actually. It was
Which I love.
refreshing
We
to,
take
like, just have a
notes.
good conversation.
Yeah. Well, I am curious, for my final question, my final cue, I'm curious if this happens to you where you have songs that are really good, but it's also like they're not, like either the world or you are not ready to hear it.
Yeah, we actually had Love Struck that we were like, we know this is good, but like it wasn't it, and it sat in the bank for about a year before we actually like went back and reworked it a little bit. But I think that was one of those songs that we were like, this is a good song, but like it's just not there yet. Like, it's not exactly what we want. And then we went back and did it, and now it's there. I'm trying to think if we had any other ones that were like that.
Love Struck is one of those. It was, I think situationally, it was a song that meant a lot to us, that we knew we couldn't let go. It was the first time after everyone was like locked in our houses and no one could actually be together. It was the first time where we could take a car outside of our house and travel. And it was just excitement. Like, that entire song was built off of the excitement of being together. And there's something to be said of that moment, right? And we didn't want to let that song go, but we weren't ready for it yet. I think we didn't do enough homework while we were at home to be able to just finish that song right away and send it out. We needed to go back into it, get into the swing of things, relearn everything that we almost forgot, kind of bring that clarity back to us. And then we felt like, you know what? Now is the right time, a year later, to go back into that song and finish it up. Like, I don't think every song is so different. And if we want to go back to the very beginning with that, every kid is so different. Every person is so different, right? Some take years, some take seconds, but I don't think that affects how good or bad the song is. I think that's just the fun of the journey of making the songs. It's just like, this one's going to be a big pain in my ass. Like, I'm going to be sitting here for the next 6 months trying to make this puzzle fit together. And then others are like, well, you ship me the puzzle with everything already done. Like, I open the box and the puzzle's finished. Like, sometimes that happens, but I don't think it knocks whether one is good or bad. I think it's just part of the process, part of the journey. It's the fun, actually, out of it.
That's the beauty of having songs for kids.
Exactly.
I like that concept, because I think it kind of, you put what I was thinking, which is like, there's some songs that come to you and you're like, I'm not that artist yet. Like that, you're the
Which
artist.
we do have a couple of those, actually, and we're just like, we're not there yet for that.
Next album.
Next out,
or
exactly.
the next one after that, or the next one after that, or the next one after that.
Put it on the goal list. Well,
The greatest hits, but they're all the songs that never came out.
You could, I mean, the next record could be unreleased, and it's all
Unreleases.
And then it's like, you're going to get so angry because it's going to become a massive hit. And you're like,
So funny,
Why didn't we release that earlier?
one of our producers, he's in like a bigger band. They're like they've done pretty well. They've had some hits. And they're gonna put out a greatest hits in the new year. And he's like, and this is an unreleased song that's gonna be on the greatest hits. And I'm like, how does that work? Like, it's not a hit yet. How are you gonna call it a greatest hit? And he played it for me. I'm like, oh, okay, that's the greatest hit. Yeah, that's gonna be a hit.
yeah.
So just fun.
Yeah. Well, I hope that happens to you. It'll make you a little bitter, but I hope that happens. You just like release everything you held back, and then it all becomes a hit, and you're like, damn it, I was sitting on gold the whole time.
But that's the clarity thing. And again, like you said, and the clarity thing is just like one of the most like incredible things I've heard in a while, because that is it. Like it's always in you. And like, not to sound cliche and cheesy, but like it's just opening those parts of you. That's what living life is. That's what growing up is opening up those doors and finding that clarity within the things that you're doing. And for us, it feels good because with this record, we've never felt like we had more clarity, but at the same time, that's scary because now we see everything and we go, whoa, there's a lot to do. But at the same time, it feels good because we can see it now, you know? Maybe we're going to see it better the next record. I hope so. I hope it's a continuous growth thing, but it's exciting to know that we're on the path of that right now, that we are kind of learning a lot more and it's working for us. And that's kind of at the end of the day, the most rewarding part of being an artist is when you surprise yourself, right?
Yeah. You're not new friends, you're newborns.
Newborn.
That life from a
We're
new
Bebis.
perspective.
We're Bebis.
Changing our band name right now.
Babis. Yeah, the Babis. Thank
The
you.
Bebis.
For this interview.
Thank you.
No, thank you. This was incredible.
Yeah,
Really-
thank you for having us.
This is an amazing
Yeah,
interview. Thank
I
you.
learned so much, and obviously I'll send the link when live, but this was like, I learned. I'm gonna rewatch this like with a pen.
Us too. Hey, we learned a lot too. Thank you.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for everything, and have a great day.
You
All
too.
right,
you
Thank
too.
you.
Have
You
a good
too.
one. Take
You
care.
too.
Take care.